I think the sort of, maybe it's an old word, but the bugaboo in understanding any meaningful or complex phenomena is there's imperfect information. Is that some part of this is unknown and that it thus is a reason why the existing explanation cannot be trusted, or there's not a reason to go forward, or any number of things that freeze analysis and freeze action is because there's imperfect information. I think we heard there's a number of exchanges about understanding what officers do during the day, and I think from that, the sense that I got was that the OIR report, in some respects, may have overstated it. And even if they did not, the notion that the police officers are doing nothing or they're engaged in some kind of nefarious activity is really unsupported and I think unfair, that because you don't know it's what is happening, the assumption is that it is a bad thing. I don't think there's any evidence to that. In fact, I think the evidence is to the contrary. One of the points that the OIR report makes at the very beginning is that this, like every institution, including this council and every department and every agency in the city, is an imperfect one, as are most of us who are here as individuals. It's imperfect. And at some examination, we can go through any department or any individual, and with enough examination and enough questions and analysis, we can find some faults. And this department has gone through an extraordinary analysis, and yes, there were faults to be found. But that's not, I don't think, enough to shift us from where we were at the budget time, which was to provide 15 staff, to now find that now that we have some documentation of very specific points of its imperfection, that now we should not provide 8. The reasons that we had for providing 15 are exactly the same as for providing 8. So I think it's for that to move forward. I think the notion that some people have raised that, well, what do these 8 officers get us really in terms of effectiveness or effect? I forget how many, we said there were sworn officers, short of 500 sworn officers. 469, thank you, Alder DeMar. Well, the math is that's less than, what we're talking about is adding less than 2%. And I think for any kind of organization of the scale of the MPD, to expect that there is a demonstrable effect in near time of adding or subtracting 2% it's simply unreasonable. It certainly can't be documented. And it'd be very difficult to demonstrate in the same way that effectiveness overall is difficult to demonstrate. I had many discussions with the OIR about what are the metrics of police effectiveness. I asked them to explore some of them, and they said afterwards they said it was impossible. But there are so many complex variables at play here that just the microscopic change of 2% we cannot determine. It may help, but maybe not. My hope, though, is that these few more police, and that's all we're talking about here, is a few more police will allow some of the cops to be what we want them to be and who they want to be. It will provide, if you read the survey of police officers, I was stunned to see what percentage of police officers found that the most important issue for them was that they needed time off. And that's different than every other department. I've never heard that from other departments as, I can never take a vacation, or I'm working 12-12-12s. This is a unique problem for the police officers, and I don't think we could just put it off and say, that doesn't really matter. If we can bring in 8 officers and it allows some of the police to take vacations that they've earned and be healthier for that, that's good. But my hope is, again, greater than that, and that is that these additional police, new officers, will create the circumstances for all of them, or for some of them, to be who we want them to be.